times. You would like to think that the First Amendment principles that we've identified apply universally, but I suppose the most glaring example, the discrimination against broadcast, tells you that because of the different characteristics of that medium, as the court explained, the First Amendment principles apply differently. 2, the explicit recognition of the press in the First Amendment gives reporters rights not enjoyed by the general public. Clearly false for the reasons we've talked about. Here's one that many students missed last year. Under New York Times versus Sullivan, actual malice means publishing with intent to defame a public official. True or false? A? Not sure about it. Publishing. Actual malice means what? Actual malice means, as the court said, publishing with knowledge of falsity or reckless disregard for the truth. Intent to defame someone is not actual malice. It's your state of mind vis-a-vis the truth, not your state of mind vis-a-vis the plaintiff, the victim of your libel. 4, the Supreme Court ruled that Javier Alvarez, the mayor of Los Angeles, had a constitutional right to lie. True or false? False. I told you before, as some wise student revealed to me, in order to be a true statement, every word in the statement must be true. Was Alvarez the mayor of Los Angeles? No. Bozo was on some water board of some kind. But the court didn't say that he had a constitutional right to lie. I think that's a mischaracterization of the decision. He had, as we all do, a constitutional right to resist the government's and limit the government's power to punish all of us for saying things that may not turn out to be true. 5, the FCC's regulation of excessive violence on television was upheld in Reno versus ACLU. True or false? The FCC's regulation of excessive violence on television? The FCC never done that. The report said couldn't do that, but they've never done that. There was no case about excessive violence on television, so the Supreme Court never upheld or did anything about violence on television. Violence on video games was an entirely separate case, and certainly wasn't involved in Reno, which had nothing to do with television. 6, regarding government regulation of the internet, the court upheld the prohibition of materials on the World Wide Web that are harmful to minors. True? False? False. Just talked about that. The court didn't uphold it. The court struck it down. That's what the court does. It upholds things and strikes things down. So, I don't have anything more. What questions do you have that haven't been clarified yet? Nothing? Last clear chance. Nicole? Over what? The definition of libel? Well, libel is defined actually in the California Civil Code, in the provision in the reader, which is an accurate statement of what the common law definition of libel is. A false and unprivileged statement. Added to that are the common law elements that the false and defamatory. False, defamatory, unprivileged statement must be of and concerning the plaintiff about the plaintiff. And that's it. Those are, it's a simplified version of what the common law definition of libel is. But that's all you need to know. Okay? Yeah, they're not really essay questions, they're short answer questions. 3 of them on 1 page. Don't be too brief. I mean, take the opportunity to show that you have mastered the material and that you understand the context of the question. I mean, it's not a yes or no short answer. It gives you an opportunity to explain something relevant to the prompt. Say it. You don't need anything other than a pencil or a pen, and no books, notes, computers, cell phones, anything like that. I can see your lips move, but that's all. Say. Well, it has to be published. Yeah, a libel, both a libel and a slander, defamation, have to be published. I'm sorry, you're quite right. One of the common law elements is the publication. That's what makes it wrong, is you publish a false and defamatory statement about someone. And publication with regard to the press is virtually never an issue, except that, as in New York Times versus Sullivan, the press and all of us are liable for republishing what somebody else said, even if it's not your words, as it wasn't in the Sullivan case. It was an ad taken out by civil rights people. It wasn't the New York Times words, but they had republished, and that satisfied the common law requirement of publication, somebody else's word. I mean, it comes as it's sobering to some reporters when you tell them, yeah, I know you got the quote exactly right. You know, you have it recorded, what the person told you, but you can't publish that without risking a libel suit, because just because you got the words right, you are republishing the false and defamatory statement made by your source, the person who told you that. And sometimes the reporter has to think twice about that, so I get it. Yes?
Can you really where the FCC is right now in regards to using the reading exodus is kind of blurry?
Yeah. Well, I put in the reader, you said right now what the FCC policy is. As far as I know, the policy in the reader is the current policy. I haven't checked in the last month whether the FCC has updated it in any way. But I wouldn't think they would. I think they'll just let it sit there. There are going to be a couple of new FCC commissioners, and they may decide to change the policy. I would be surprised, given the timidity of the Obama administration, if they abandoned the indecency policy. I think they'll keep it. And it now includes potential fines, serious money, fines, for airing fleeting expletives, or after the Janet Jackson episode, as Chief Justice Roberts emphasized in that most recent case, images, fleeting expletives or images can violate the indecency policy, so that no longer is it required in order to punish a broadcaster that the indecent material be repetitive or deliberate. It can be fleeting, one shot, one word, or one image, up for a few seconds, can result in a substantial fine. The FCC, as you see in the policy, says context determines how we enforce this policy. And you have to look at the context in which the word or the image is used, which means that nobody can have a clue whether they'll lower the boom on a broadcaster for putting up one of Carlin's dirty words or Janet Jackson's left breast. It depends on the context. Okay? See you next Wednesday.